is Local 3 News at 4.
The Chat Foundation Warming Center will be open again on this chilly Wednesday night, and food insecurity is reaching more of our children.
What we try to do is be able to place a food bag to a child in Hamilton County that's food insecure.
One local group is working to help Hamilton County children. Plus, it's back to normal as the 3-month Tennessee tax holiday has ended. Also, the plan for Chattanooga's One West Side moves forward. City officials want to protect those who are impacted. And a refugee camp in Gaza was hit twice by blasts in the past 24 hours. It's time for Local 3 News at 4.
And we want to thank you for joining us on this first day of November. I'm David Carroll.
And I'm Cindy Sexton. A freeze warning remains in effect overnight tonight.
It's beginning to feel a lot like winter.
It certainly is.
It's not quite, but Cedric Haynes is here to tell us exactly what it's going to be feeling like the next day or so.
Yeah, it's definitely going to feel more like winter, like you guys said. It's not going to look like winter, but hey, it doesn't matter when it feels as cold as it is out there. Of course, we've got freeze warnings in effect for us again tonight all across the deep south, stretching down towards the I-10 corridor. I'll have much more on that in just a second, but let me show you where we began the day, because this morning you can see pretty much everyone at or below freezing except at the Chattanooga airport. The wind stayed up just enough to keep the temperature right around 33 degrees this morning, but everyone else in the upper 20s to lower 30s out there. And guess what? I think it's going to be a little cooler in most locations as we go throughout tonight. Right now, it's not very warm out there. 51 in Chattanooga, one of the warm spots on the map. 48 in Cleveland, 49 in Lafayette. We've got 50 in Dalton and 48 degrees in Athens, 43 degrees in Altamont. But when you factor in that northerly wind at about 10 to 15 miles per hour, up to 20 at times, it's making it feel still like it's in the 40s across most of the Tennessee Valley, even still feeling like the 30s up along the plateau. So it is quite the chilly day out there. And for the rest of this evening, now that Halloween is gone, we're looking at sunshine, breezy conditions early on. That will see our temperatures drop down to near 40 by 9 o'clock this evening. So setting up for another cold night with clear skies and calm winds. I think a little colder than last night. So this will be the end of the growing season for sure for the rest of the Tennessee Valley, as everyone will drop below freezing tonight. In fact, I think pretty much 20s widespread across the area. That's going to mean a hard freeze in spots and also a widespread frost, a thick frost for most places by tomorrow morning. So don't forget the 4 Ps. Remember to check on those portable heaters, bring the pets inside, and of course, make sure those exposed pipes outside are covered or insulated so you don't have any plumbing issues come early tomorrow morning. We'll talk more about this cool spell and how long it's expected to last. That's coming up in just a few moments, guys.
All right, Cedric, thank you.
The Chat Foundation is opening the cold weather shelter again tonight, the second night this season. Now, last night, more than 30 people took shelter from the freezing temperatures.
Now, they opened when the temps dropped to 35 or below for 4 consecutive hours. The shelter serves an average of 45 people a night. Last year, the Chat Foundation provided some 6,000 shelter beds throughout the winter.
We offer mats to sleep on the floor, and there are usually enough blankets to go around, but if somebody has a pillow or things like that, if they have medication they need to bring, they should bring that.
The shelter will open tonight at 7 and will remain open until tomorrow morning at 6. It's at 727 East 11th Street in downtown Chattanooga.
An outdoor chimney caught fire last night in the Windstone subdivision. The Tri-Community Volunteer Fire Department responded and kept that fire from spreading to the house. You see it there on the outside of the building of the house. Nobody was injured.
It's important to have your fireplace and chimney checked for safety. Don't restrict the air supply in your chimney. Do not burn any unseasoned wood or paper. Put the fire out before you go to sleep or you leave your home, and keep a screen in front of the fireplace. That will keep those embers in check.
Our weather team will keep you up to date with the latest forecast and any warnings we may need to know about.
And if you don't have it already, get the Local 3 weather app. Sure comes in handy. The number of people described as food insecure has increased locally and nationally.
Cornelia Nicholson shares how volunteers are working to keep up with the growing number of hungry students and why they are in need of your help.
13 million children are currently living food insecure, going home and not knowing where their next meal is coming from. But a group of volunteers is hoping to change that one snack pack at a time. Every first Wednesday of the month during the school year, hundreds of volunteers come to the East Brainerd Church of Christ to fill blue bags with food for kids all around the county. Each bag is filled with 10 items like peanuts, granola bars, and applesauce. Volunteers have packed each one of these blue totes with 20 snack packs. Each snack pack filled with food to go home with children on the weekend to keep them full and fed.
Currently, we have 22 schools that we are helping and about 2,700 students that are able to get bags. On average, we usually pack about 10,000 bags a month.
And the number of food insecure children is rising. Barnett says they have 2 schools currently on the wait list to start receiving snack packs for their students, but they're in need of donations. Volunteers will be back to pack even more bags on December 6th. If you'd like to donate or volunteer your time, they're more than happy to welcome you in here. You can find out more information of how you can do that over on our website. In Chattanooga, Cornelia Nicholson, Local 3 News.
Thanks, Cornelia. Tennesseans are paying more at the grocery store. The tax-free grocery holiday ended at the end of October. For the last 3 months, there's been no tax on groceries. The Tennessee General Assembly passed the Tennessee Works Tax Act during its legislative session last summer, making one of the largest tax cuts in Tennessee history.
The United Way's Bridge Fund can help those with immediate need for food, health services, transportation, housing, and more. Just call 211. Some 40% of households now face financial hardships. EPB and TVA donated $220,000 to this fund. The Hamilton County Commission passed the Economic Impact Plan for the Bend development.
A development plan will now be presented to Chattanooga's Industrial Development Board. Commissioners discussed the plan of building a technical school in that area. A few members opposed it, and will explain why it faced opposition coming up at 5.
The City Council approved the tax increment financing district required for Urban Story Ventures to get the development off the ground. This will relocate residents of College Hill Courts and Gateway Tower. The Chattanooga Housing Authority will help those who are displaced while construction is underway.
CHA will agree to minimize the effect of relocation on vulnerable populations in College Hill Courts and Gateway Towers, such as senior citizens with mobility challenges and disabled persons, by minimizing the number of relocations, including temporary relocations, that may be required to such persons.
They'll also be required to survey the residents annually to ensure they still want to live in the West Side area. The project could grow into a $2.5 billion development with residential, retail, hotel, and high-rise units.
Coming up next on Local 3 News at 4, a new study shows long-term aspirin therapy may not be as helpful for cardiac patients as originally believed.
And Georgia's governor wants to help families from Israel. All right, we've got a situation on I-24, both eastbound and westbound, and this is pretty much beginning around the Market Street area downtown, continuing all the way through Brainerd, and it's worse on the westbound side, pretty much back-to-back, bumper to bumper around 23rd Street. As we continue our look around the map, we don't see any other gridlock, pretty much normal flow everywhere else. We'll monitor that situation for you all afternoon on Local 3. The Hamilton County Health Department distributed free flu shots today at La Paz. The program is called Fight Flu Tennessee, and there were multiple pop-ups throughout the county. They're also offering free vaccines at each of their departments.
So we really want to make Fight Flu Tennessee for Hamilton County accessible for every Hamilton County resident. So we really focused on those vulnerable populations, and we tried to make sure that we were going to be readily available throughout our county.
You can find them at various other locations with no appointment needed. For more information, visit the Hamilton County Health Department Facebook page or our website.
The U.S. infant mortality rate is up for the first time in more than 20 years. A report from the National Center for Health Statistics found the overall infant mortality rate rose by 3% from 2021 to last year. Experts say infant mortality is often a useful benchmark for a country's health system at large, but they say this rise could be an isolated case or a sign of an underlying health care issue. They'll need to see next year's data to be certain.
For some cardiac patients with stents, long-term aspirin use might be on the way out. A new study says prolonged aspirin use for some high-risk cardiovascular patients with stents may be ineffective and could be harmful. The study looked at more than 7,500 patients with acute coronary syndrome. That term describes several heart conditions, including heart attacks caused by a sudden drop in blood flow to the heart. And coming up next, looks can be deceiving, you know. It looks terrific, but it feels awfully cold outside. Cedric Haynes is in our Storm Alert Center to let you know how low the temps will go tonight on Local 3 News.
Missiles lit up the night sky in Gaza last night. This comes as the United States and other countries say they are looking for options for the future of the Gaza Strip. Israel has vowed to wipe out Hamas for the worst assault on Jews since the Holocaust. For days, Israeli tanks have been acting in Gaza following weeks of air bombardments.
The Israeli army released footage of airstrikes targeting what it said was a Hamas target at a refugee camp in Gaza. The Israeli military has accused Hamas of using civilian buildings for cover for fighters and weaponry. These accusations are denied by Hamas. There's more destruction at a Gaza refugee camp after what appears to be a second Israeli attack. You can see the smoke north of Gaza as medics search through rubble looking for survivors. The Israeli army says a senior Hamas commander was in that area.
And crowds gathered at the border between Gaza and Egypt, where some foreign passport holders and critically injured people are being allowed to leave Gaza. This is the first civilian evacuation across the Egyptian border since Israel imposed a siege on the Palestinian enclave after the Hamas attack. More than 1 million people have been displaced in Gaza.
Elected leaders in Georgia met with a group of Israelis directly affected by the conflict between Israel and Hamas in Gaza.
Richard Elliott has details.
It was handshakes and hugs as Governor Brian Kemp and the First Lady met with 6 Israelis at the state capitol Tuesday. All 6 have family members still held hostage in Gaza by Hamas. They're part of a public information campaign by Israel to keep support strong in Georgia and across the nation.
Just recommit our strong support for Israel against the terrorist attacks and the war that Hamas brought to Israel, and we'll continue to do that in the days ahead here in the state of Georgia.
Monday, the Israelis met with members of the General Assembly who also reiterated their support for Israel. At a news conference after their meeting, Democratic State Representative Esther Panich asked the governor to include in the upcoming special legislative session her bill defining anti-Semitism in Georgia law. Her bill passed the House but got bogged down in the Senate last session.
I'm respectfully requesting Governor Kemp bring up the anti-Semitism bill in the special session that he just called on November 29th.
But Kemp declined to add it to the agenda, saying lawmakers will have a difficult enough time redrawing congressional and legislative district lines as ordered by a federal judge in the time allotted.
No, and I've already said that. I mean, if I did that, we'd have every legislator down here has an issue that's important to them that they would want to bring up during special session.
That was Richard Elliott reporting.
Kemp says he is working with private partners like Delta and officials in Israel to ensure the safe return of 2 lawmakers in Israel who were in that country when the war broke out.
The U.S. Senate has voted to confirm former Treasury Secretary Jack Lew as the new U.S. ambassador to Israel. The president nominated Lew in September when relations between the U.S. and Israel became strained. The U.S. has not had an ambassador in Israel since July. As always, we'll have the latest on the ongoing war.
In the next half hour, we'll hear from the FBI director on the current threats the U.S. faces. Now
let's chat about the weather,
say?
shall
Let's let Cedric Haynes just take it over and tell us why on earth it's going to be so cold tonight.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've got clear skies and calm winds. So, Cindy, that's the perfect recipe, something we call radiational cooling, which allows all the heat to escape in the atmosphere. And yeah, that's why it's going to be even a little colder than last night tonight, if you can believe that. So let's talk about our month of November, because it is November the 1st. So I do want to just point this out because I just think it's so interesting right now. The average high temperature today is 68 degrees. Obviously, we are nowhere near close to 68 degrees today. The average low temperature is 45 degrees. Obviously, we were about 15 degrees colder than that this morning, and we're going to be a little colder, I think, tonight heading into tomorrow morning. Now, look at the average high temperature by the end of the month, 57 degrees. We didn't get that warm today. The average low, 37 degrees, and we were colder than that this morning. So you get the idea. It is well below normal, and it will stay that way over the next couple of days. So let me show you again where we started this morning, because it got down to 33 in Chattanooga. That was the warm spot on the map. 26 degrees in Altamont, 27 in Dayton, 29 in Murphy, and 29 degrees this morning in Fort Payne, 32 in Scottsboro. So it was at or below freezing pretty much everywhere except for at the Chattanooga airport. But I think that all changes tonight, and we officially all go below freezing. So if you're waiting for that, I think tonight is your night. 51 degrees in Chattanooga right now with lots of sunshine. The air is just bone dry. Look at the humidity at 22%, and we still have that northerly wind that's fairly gusty as well. 50 degrees in Dalton. It's still 48 degrees in Cleveland. 48 in Athens and 49 degrees in Murphy, 44 in Altamont, and 52 degrees currently in Scottsboro. But as I stated, we've got that wind coming in out of the north, anywhere between 10 to 15 sustained, with gusts higher than that at times. So it's making it feel, a wind chill still, even this afternoon at about 45 in Cleveland and Athens. Feels like it's 39 in Altamont. Feels like it's 42 right now in Blue Ridge and 46 in Murphy. So let's kind of walk you through the rest of your evening forecast here. Again, sunshine, breezy conditions early on. Temperatures right around 50, but it's still going to be a little on the cool side. Mid 40s by this evening and right around 40 by late this evening as we set ourselves up for a cold night. Just how cold? How about mid 20s, mid to upper 20s in most locations across the Tennessee Valley. So not only a freeze, but a hard freeze likely in many spots for us tonight. So make sure you are taking those necessary precautions there. That's why we have that freeze warning in effect for areas that have not necessarily seen those freezing temperatures for too long. But that will change for us tonight. So remember to heat those homes safely tonight. Bring the pets inside and, of course, cover those pipes outside because you don't want to have any issues with plumbing as you wake up early tomorrow morning. The dry air, low humidity, breezy conditions. We've got an elevated, if not high, fire danger. That will continue in the evening. Look at these dew points. Single digits and teens. This is bone dry air, folks, and extremely dry conditions with the soil moisture out there. That's going to lead to that potential high fire danger. And yes, we just finished with the two consecutive dry months that we've had on record here. The first one was 1938, where we had about 0.4 of an inch of precipitation. We're only behind that by about 0.2 for September and October of 2023. And over the next 7 days, not looking good for rainfall, at least any beneficial rainfall, maybe a trace to a tenth as we get towards later into next week, but even then, doesn't like a major rain event. Here's your Storm Alert 7-day forecast. Watch out for a thick frost tomorrow morning with temperatures down into the 20s. And then, guys, there's the good news. We begin the warming trend just in time for the weekend with highs back into the 70s.
It's crazy, isn't it, Cedric? Thank you. Coming up next on Local 3 News at 4.
I may be 23, but dreams are coming true.
Chattanooga's own is currently competing on the hit show The Voice. We'll let you know what his pre-taping ritual has become.
Carving Rock Kitchen, Chattanooga's first 100% gluten-free restaurant, opened in September, but had to abruptly close last week because of a plumbing issue. For those who struggle with severe food allergies, Carving Rock Kitchen has been a welcome resource. The owner planned to launch a Kickstarter to expand the business, but now they need an entirely new location. The goal is to raise $10,000 by November 29th, then eventually $20,000.
We're just asking for the community to help us be able to get back up and running somewhere, and help with those moving costs and the cost of purchasing all the equipment.
You can contact Carving Rock Kitchen with any request. If you'd like to donate to their Kickstarter, we have a link on our website.
Chattanooga's own Bias, he just goes by one name, is representing us on the season's The Voice with Team Gwen. Now, Bias says he's a little superstitious, so he visits a Leah restaurant with his wife before flying to California to compete. He says he goes by his last name to start a legacy for his family. When Coach Gwen complimented his character after the battle rounds, it meant the most to him.
To hear that, I mean, that goes beyond the music. It goes beyond everything. You know, if you can get compliments on your character and how you live your life and treat people, it's one of the best compliments you can receive.
Bias says he's never had this kind of support before and thanks everyone for supporting his journey. He says there's more to him than meets the eye and says we might hear a different side of his music soon. So we'll keep watching The Voice right here on Local 3.
He has a lot of people in his corner. And coming up next.
To know that I'm less than 2 months away from having customers go in my door is the most glorious feeling.
Oh, your customers are glad too. One of Dunlap's favorite restaurants is making a comeback. The Cookie Jar Café soon will rise from the ashes.
And let's take a look at traffic. There you see still the same problems David was telling us about earlier. This is I-24 at Seminole Drive. Traffic is backed up both directions, and it looks like it heads all the way towards the 27 intersection. So keep an eye out, avoid it if you can.
This is Local 3 News at 4.
The Georgia Secretary of State's office says the first restitution check for the election interference case has come in.
A couple in Alabama face charges after their son's body was found in a freezer.
And the FBI is warning of an increase in threats because of the war in Israel. How Chattanooga police are responding. Thanks for joining us here for the second half hour of Local 3 News at 4. I'm Cindy Sexton.
And I'm David Carroll. Here's what's happening. We begin with meteorologist Cedric Haynes.
He has a look at our forecast, and boy, oh boy, it just turned out exactly the way you and David told us it would. Pretty darn cold.
Yes, I like the way you put that, Cindy. It's pretty darn cold, and guess what? It's going to be even colder tonight in most locations, so get ready. That's right, the freeze potential going all the way down to the Gulf Coast for us tonight, all the way over towards the Carolina coast, and we're going to be smack dab in the middle of that. So yes, temperatures are definitely heading a few degrees cooler than what we saw this morning for tomorrow morning. Now, this morning, it was cold enough. Like you mentioned there, we got 27 in Dayton, 26 in Altamont, 28 in Blue Ridge, 32 in Cleveland, 31 in Dalton, 29 in Fort Payne. The only place just above freezing at the Chattanooga airport, 33 degrees, but the wind kind of helped keep temperatures up there just enough. But don't worry, I think tonight is the night at the airport as well. 48 degrees in Athens, 51 in Chattanooga, 50 in Lafayette. Yeah, these are the current temperatures. You factor in this wind at about 10 to 15, up to 20 miles per hour at times. Feels like it's still in the 30s along the plateau and the 40s over in the Blue Ridge, while we're in the 40s to right around 50 as it feels like temperature here in the valley areas. But this evening, 50 dropping into the 40s as we go throughout the evening with clear skies, the winds calming down as well. It's going to set us up for another cold night out there. In fact, we've got freeze warnings in effect for most of the area tonight because we're going to go below freezing. In fact, I think a hard freeze is possible as we get towards many locations, mid to upper 20s across the area. So it is going to be downright frigid out there. And with these temperatures, that's going to lead to that potential of a thick frost developing out there as well. So be careful. Make sure you heat those homes safely as we go throughout the evening hours. Bring the pets inside. Hey, if you're cold, they're cold, and they're going to be cold by tomorrow morning. And make sure you cover those exposed pipes and faucets because, hey, the worst thing to do is to wake up in the morning when it's in the 20s and have to deal with a bunch of ice and water going everywhere because of plumbing issues, right? We'll have more on your forecast and if we have a warming trend heading our way in just a few moments, guys.
Cedric, thank you. Multiple Tennessee counties have burn bans in effect because of the dry weather we're seeing. Hamilton, Bradley, Grundy, Sequatchie, Bledsoe, Ray, and Polk counties all have burn bans. You can find a map with a location of the bans and where to get a permit on our website. It's local3news.com.
Chattanooga police arrested a man for starting a fire on property he didn't own. Police say this has happened before. They have cited Joshua Woodruff for another fire on West 37th, and he was told, don't do that again. But they say he did. The fire was so large, the fire department responded, and the windy, dry environment just made it worse. Joshua Woodruff is charged with reckless burning.
The Hamilton County Sheriff's Office is investigating a fire. A home was destroyed this morning on Harrison Bay Road. Highway 58 volunteer firefighters arrived about a little before 10 o'clock. The fire department says the homeowners were out of town. No one was injured.
An electrical fire last summer forced the temporary closing of the popular Jar Café in Dunlap.
Now they are still working to kick off the new year with a grand reopening. Dallas Payton has followed this and joins us now with the latest.
January 2nd is the target date for Jar Café to reopen. Owner Sue Ann Lockhart says the restaurant will look completely different inside and out, but will still have the same feel.
To know that I'm less than 2 months away from having customers go in my door is the most glorious feeling that we've had since this has started.
June 25th, 2023 is the day that nearly put Lockhart out of business for good after 20 years. She was notified that her restaurant was on fire while on vacation, so she packed up everything and rushed home. Lockhart never thought what she saw that day would turn into what it is now.
It's such an amazing feeling. The Lord has blessed us up here so much to be able to build a restaurant basically from the ground up in less than 6 months is just absolutely unbelievable. So the ride has been a little rough from time to time, but the outcome is going to be it's going to be great. I can't wait for everybody to see it.
Lockhart says customers can expect to see a majority of the original crew that was there before the fire, along with some new faces.
We've hired a brand new assistant manager. He's coming on board as well. We hope to be able to do our push of the remaining employees once we get in the building, and it's looking like that'll be around Thanksgiving so we can start working, get everything set up and organized and ready to go.
Customer favorite meals from Jar Café will still be up for grabs as well.
All of our recipes are going to be the same, and we're going to add a few new menu items that our customers had kind of been asking for to begin with. So I'm excited about that, and I really hope that people come out and can see the hard work and enjoy it just as much as we have.
Lockhart says pies for the holiday season won't be available this time around, but they will be ready to go after the grand opening. For Local 3 News, I'm Dallas Payton.